are you doing?
Walaikum Assalam, ma'am. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Okay, so let's start. It's our sixth lecture for implementing and managing cybersecurity. Previously, we were talking about the different security concerns and how we can implement this cybersecurity to make our system secure. Today, we are going to talk about some of the protection methods that could be used in our cybersecurity project so that we can better manage the protection. So, first, we will analyze the purpose of implementing cybersecurity measures across an organization because it's really important to understand even before implementing any kind of cybersecurity or its measures or methods, we need to understand the purpose why we need them. If we know if why we need them in our organization, then we can better manage them. So first we will see the purpose, then we will evaluate the methods that could be used to protect the system, and at the third point we will see how to deploy the security protection methods. All the methods that we will learn, we'll see how we can deploy them into the physical organization to make them earn in a better way. So, first thing is to analyze the purpose, and its indicative content says that we need to ensure an organization is fully protected and has a range of measures in place in the event of a cybersecurity attack or potential attack. Whenever there is any kind of potential attack happening to a system should be fully established with the cybersecurity measures so that they can better compete with that attack and they can destroy the attack rather than disturbing the overall activity of their organization. To protect the hardware, software, network, and users' activity, you need to understand the implementation of the cybersecurity measures so that we can better protect them all. So let's see how we can do so. First thing is cybersecurity protects digital systems, networks, and data from unauthorized access, theft, and damage. Whenever we talk about the cyber attacks, there are multiple kind of attacks. Some of the attacks are physical, some of them are logical, and some of them are not physical, not logical. They are basically the caused by some of the errors that are basically the result of some negligence or maybe some human error that are not basically considered as the theft because this is something that is not the fault of any specific person, but it's happening because of some negligence or maybe some other mistakes that happen at the employer. It involves implementing various measures or technologies to ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information stored and processed on a computer system. Information is something that is really a confidential thing for every organization. Whenever you are working on computer-based systems, usually organizations do need to have integrated software systems that help them manage all the data at the same place, so that once they are going to fetch any kind of data, they can easily do so rather than moving from one place to another in their computer system. They can get it uh, with proper integrity and everything is available at one point so that they can simply go to that storage point and they can get their data. Three critical aspects of cyber security are the prevention, detection, and response. When we talk about the prevention is something which is basically before the occurrence of the cyber attack, you need to do some of the preventive measures, which is covering in the point of prevention. It helps you to get the unauthorized access to your system, any kind of data breaches to your system, malware attacks to your system. It helps you to save your system from all these kind of thefts. Rather than just waiting for the theft to or the attack to occur and then do some of the precautionary measures, you can do some of the prevention measures even before the attack so that you can compete with them if they occur. And the next thing is detection. Once the attack has occurred, now you need to identify the potential threats of it. Rather than considering it to occur, if you will see the possible outcomes or the possible threats that may occur to your system, you can identify its potential threats as well, even before its occurrence. But most probably, it happens after the attack. When it comes now, you know what are the possible outcomes or possible threats of this attack, and now you can see what are the vulnerabilities caused into the system with the help of that cyber attack, and now you are going to make some of the responses, some of the necessary actions that are basically needed by your organization for the security of your system or the overall to cover the overall outcome of that attack. So this response needs to have all the possible measures that will help you to secure the overall system from those attacks. So this is the whole process. You need to follow it very carefully so that you may not avoid any single step, so that once you are going to deal with the attack, you are going to deal with it perfectionly. To ensure an organization is fully protected and has a range of measures in place in the event of cybersecurity attack or potential attack, a comprehensive approach is necessary. And the comprehensive approach is basically it's a guideline of steps that will help you or assist you to follow the route that will help you to make your system secure from cyber attack. This generally includes implementing a multi-layered defense strategy that is basically needed to protect your overall system. The hardware, software, network, and user activity, these are points are interconnected with each other. So here is a complete description or explanation that will help us understand how these points are interrelated with each other and what are the steps of them. So the hardware security is the first thing. You will implement robust access controls such as biometric authentication and smart cards. This is the basic thing that is considered as the hardware security for your system. Just like when you are going to implement some of the security measures into your system and you are going to think about the hardware security, this is the first thing that will come to your mind. The system should have secure security with the help of some biometric system with which you can limitize the access to the system, and people will only get access to the system if they have the authenticity. Then you can use tamper evident or tamper resistant devices to detect unauthorized access. It will help you to know if someone is trying to breach the security of your system physically. It will help you to recognize them, and then after that you can easily limit down the use unnecessarily. Next thing is you can regularly update and patch firmware and software on hardware devices. It will help you because whenever you do things update, even if you are talking about the software or hardware components, it helps you to get the advanced feature which saves you from the malwares or malicious activities to happen in your system, because updated versions usually are having all the like the solution for the newer and the possible malware or the any kind of attack that can occur. So it's better to regularly update and patch the firmware. If you are using a firmware, you need to add the patches so that it helps you to make the system secure. You can use encryption for data storage and transmission, because this is something really important. If you are going to store your data, you need to use the encryption. The strong password should be used so that if you are transmitting your data from one place to another, it should be encrypted so that in the medium, if someone is trying to breach your data, they cannot do so. So just let me know, is it clear, or do you have anything to add here or any questions from your side?
No, ma'am, clear, very clear.
Okay. Next thing is the software security. You need to keep all the softwares up to date with the latest security patches and updates, as I have already talked about it. When we are talking about the hardware or software components, the firmware or the softwares, all the application softwares needs to be updated in order to maintain their security. You will implement a whitelisting policy to only allow approved softwares to run. There are chances that sometimes there are applications that are linked with some other kind of application, and if there is a person who is not having enough technical knowledge, they will simply click on install, and with the current software application that they are going to install, there are multiple other applications that are getting installed into the system. This is basically the way, another way to install malwares to your system, and ultimately it results in a very bad way. So whitelisting policy helps you to limitize the softwares to run. It will allow you to ask you to select if you are going to download this application or install this application, either you want to run it or not. If it is not authenticated or a safe site, it will identify that it is not safe to run. If it is satisfied by your side and you know the person is authentic, then you can click on install. And this is simply another checkpoint that helps you to limitize the unauthorized access to your system. Then you can use antivirus or anti-malware solutions to detect and remove threats. If we talk about generally Windows-based systems, it is already having its very advanced solution that basically helps you to detect all the malwares in a very limited time, and you can simply identify and remove them with the help of the Windows own software application. You will implement a secure coding practice for in-house development software so that it helps you to maintain the software with all the possible security measures. Next thing is the network security. Network security is the highest concern, because network is the one thing with which multiple people try to breach your data. It is basically the point at which you need to implement higher security, and you will implement a firewall to control incoming and outgoing network traffic. It will help you to use the intrusion detection and prevention systems to identify and block threats. If there is any kind of intrusion detection, it will simply prevent your system from it, and it will block that threat. Then segment the network into security zones to limit lateral movement. You can implement encryption for data in transit and at rest. So if the data is in the transmission state or is at rest, you can simply encrypt it so that you can better control the working of your system and definitely the access to your system. Next thing is user activity security. We have talked about the hardware, software, network security. These are basically the important points, but we cannot deny the importance of user activity security, because this is also really an important factor. You will implement multi-factor authentication to secure user access. If users are going through multi-factor authentication, it helps you to have their accounts secure with your system. You will enforce strong password policies and regular password rotation so that it cannot be breached. Limit user privileges to the minimum necessary for their role, and you will monitor user activity and detect anomalies. This is how you can also manage the user activity and you can make it secure. By implementing these measures, organizations can significantly reduce the risk of a successful cyber attack and minimize the impact of a potential attack. So if you want to apply these kind of measures, you need to make sure that you are going to work smartly. Remember, security is an ongoing process, and continuous monitoring and improvement are essential to stay ahead of evolving threats. So this is how you can manage the overall system, and you can manage the security of your system and evolve from those threats that are causing negative effects. So our first activity is clear. If you have any question, you can ask.
No, ma'am. Not at all.
Okay. So I'm going to continue with the methods that could be used to protect the systems. And we know the systems include multiple methods, and the firewall is at the top of the security when we talk about the cyber security, because this is one of the main thing, or simply the most reliable thing for people to use in their system to make the network secure. So let's discuss them one by one. Firewalls are a crucial first line of defense. This is basically the first line of defense that basically simply detect or control the attacks either from the incoming or outgoing network traffic based on the predetermined security rules, because there are some fixed set of rules that are working for the firewalls, and we can only use them to make our system work. It's a more effective method to protect the system, whether a hardware appliance or a software program that is protecting a corporate network or a personal computer. Firewall is essential to network security, because this is the one thing that makes the system secure for the overall working. For example, depending on where a firewall is installed, It may guard against insider threats in a network segment or act as a barrier against external threats at the network perimeter. So, firewall is a barrier between your system security and all the external threats that may stop the normal working of your system. So all the working of the firewall is basically related to maintain the security. There are some fixed set of rules or set of security rules defined for this system to work. It only works on them to make the system in a better way. Strengths of this firewall prevention method include it blocks unauthorized access, it hides the internal IP addresses, and it can detect and alert on suspicious activities. So once it gets to know about any kind of detect, at first it will block it, then it will alert on suspicious activities so that you can see and control the activity if it is not um, a reliable or secure activity. And the weaknesses includes that it may become the complex thing to configure. Like there should be properly professional managers for network managers for the implementation of this firewall, because they need to configure and maintain the overall working of it so that they can track either it's working fine or not. And second thing is it may not detect all the types of attacks, just like the SQL injections, and can be vulnerable to exploits if not regularly updated. So it also needs to be updated regularly. So we need some technical uh, professionals who will work on it, and they will maintain the working of the firewall, and they will keep on checking and updating the things regarding the security of the system. The next one is the endpoint protection software. This software provides comprehensive security for devices, and it includes the antivirus, anti-malware, or anti-ransomware capabilities. Like it can deal with all kind of viruses. The endpoint security solution enables businesses to quickly detect malwares and other common security threats. Once you can easily detect the software or security threat, you can easily manage them to manage time or things to handle them. It can also provide endpoint monitoring, detection, and response, which enables the business to detect more advanced threats like fileless malware, polymorphic attack, zero-day attack. These are basically the common, or now you can say the complex type of malwares that are not very easily detectable. So it can help you to detect them with its advanced features. The endpoint security solution provides systems admin with a centralized management console that is installed on a network or server. It will be installed on your system. You will be having a management console that will be showing all the things related to the management. Like it will enable all the people to control the security of all the devices connected on them. Client software is then deployed to each endpoint. Like each endpoint is basically all the devices of your organization. You will install it on all the endpoints, and the person who is at the centralized system will be detecting the system and looking for all the endpoints. Either there is any kind of virus or malware attack, it can easily detect and remove them. And it could be happening either remotely or directly. It's up to the person who is going to implement. With the endpoint setup, the software pushes updates to it whenever necessary, authenticates login attempts that are made from it, and administers corporate policy. This is the whole package which works for the security of your system. You can do the manage the security from the centralized system, and all the systems that are connected to your network will easily be tracked for the viruses and attacks. The strengths includes the real-time threat detection, automated updates, and advanced threat protection, because you can get the advanced features that help you uh, to detect the threats that are really confidential ones, and you can say that they are very complex to be detected, but it's helping to detect them very well. Weaknesses include the resource intensive it is. It may cause system slowdowns, and it requires regular updates to stay effective. If we talk about this, the last thing that we have talked about the regular updates. This is the although it's considered as the weakness, but it is the most important thing. Whenever you are going to maintain the security of your system, you need to stay updated. If you are not updated, you cannot follow the trends of the attacks, and ultimately you will not be able to detect and control them. So the two-factor authentication adds an extra layer of security to the login process, requiring a second form of verification. It's totally up to you. You can select which kind of two-factor authentication you want. It can simply send code to a phone in addition to a password. You will get a code, you will enter it, and after that you will be able to log in with your credentials. Two-factor authentication is a combination of two of the following. You can choose any two from this list. Something you know is about the it could be your password. Something you have, such as a text with a code sent to your smartphone or other device or a smartphone authenticator application. You can choose anyone, either the direct device or like the code sent to your smartphone via a text message, or you can use an authentication application which will show some code that you can use. Or another one is you can use the biometrics like using your fingerprint, face, or retina things uh, to authenticate your login security. Once you will enable the feature for two-factor authentication, next time whenever you will try to log in, it will ask you for both details, and whenever you will enter both details, then you will be able to log in. Otherwise, you will not be able to do. Its strengths includes significantly reduce the risk of unauthorized access. It is really easy to implement, and the third one and the most important one is it is cost effective because you don't need to put an extra cost for that. It's basically very simply implemented and people can easily do so. Weaknesses includes that it can be vulnerable to phishing attacks or users may find it inconvenient. The next thing is antivirus and malware protection. Antivirus software detects and removes malware, including viruses, trojans, spyware. So it has different kind of options. Like different antivirus softwares are used for detecting and removing the malware attacks from your system. It includes the real-time threat detection, automated updates, and advanced threat protection. The weaknesses include may not detect all type of malwares. It may have some of the malwares that are not detected, just like in the endpoint detection. I have talked about some of the complex things that the complex malwares that may be difficult for the system to detect, but that are also the part of this system. Some of the antivirus software applications are not able to detect all type of malware, so it may not be able to detect all the kind of malwares, and it can cause the system slowdown. Mostly, when people are using any kind of antivirus or malware protection software, they usually complain that the system got slowed down and they are not getting the access to the same working speed that was previously being done. And it requires regular updates to stay effective. The next one is the VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. It establishes a digital connection between your computer and the remote server, which is owned by a VPN provider, which is creating a point-to-point tunnel that encrypts your personal data, masks your IP address, and lets you sidestep website blocks and firewalls on the internet. VPNs encrypt internet traffic, security data transmission between devices and the network. Whenever we are talking about the VPN, it has some of the strengths that we can consider. It basically encrypts the data. It hides the original IP addresses. It allows the secure remote access. You can simply use it and do whatever you want to do by hiding your IP address and your actual location. Weaknesses includes it can be complex to configure, it may slow down internet speeds, and it requires regular updates to stay effective. All these things could be managed by professional handling. Whenever people do so, they can easily manage the things. Like if you are using a VPN which is authenticated and which is really working on the advanced formulas or algorithms, then these weaknesses are not the part of them at the higher end, but still we can consider them because some of the VPNs do have these kind of weaknesses. And the policies are the crucial component of a comprehensive security strategy, providing a framework for protecting the system and ensuring compliance with regulations and standards. Effective policies can help prevent security breaches, minimize risk, and promote a culture of security awareness within the organization. Key elements of effective policies include clear and concise language, specificity and the details about all the policies that you have made, regular reviews and updates to the policies, as we are having newer antiviruses every day. So you need to update your policies according to the antiviruses, according to all the attacks, according to all the possible outcomes of those attacks, because every day we are having new things. So all the updates need to be the part of your policy. Employee education and awareness would also be the part of it, because employees should understand how are the attacks detected and how we can resolve them. Enforcement and compliance measures, incident response and reporting procedures, continuous monitoring and evaluation. And once you have created the policy, you need to have all the possible points mentioned. Like you need to enforce all the employees to follow the policies. They shouldn't be simply ignoring the policies just like they are not important for them at all, because this is something really confidential. Organizations do need the security, and for the sake of their security, policies should be considered. And every person need to respond once they face any kind of difficulty in their regular work, or they detect some of the irregular things that are not the part of their system previously. They need to report the system so that the organization may know beforehand. Continuous monitoring and evaluation can help you make the policies strong, and ultimately you can secure your system from multiple threats. By implementing and enforcing these policies, organizations significantly reduce the risk of security breaches and protect their system and data from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction. So all these things are basically using the system to destroy the actual working of your organizational activities. So if you want to make the system and policies secure, you will follow a proper procedure. Proper policies need to be made and followed up so that you can easily ignore and simply prevent your system from all these kind of disruptions. Next, we have the types of policies. We were talking about the policies, like how important they are to be managed in the system. Now we have different kind of policies that we need to control in our system. Access control policy is simply defined. It defines the access rights and privileges for all the users, groups, and roles. People with the access the given access will only be able to access the system. Other than that, the people will not be able to access the system, and the policy is really good because it saves people uh, from uh, from the unauthorized access. The next thing is the password policy specifies password requirements. Usually, people do consider the password that is more easier for them to remember. But nowadays, due to the exploitations, people do need to follow the requirements of a password that contain all the things that are mentioned in the caption, so that they can follow the rules to select a password. They also need to see the expiration and reset procedures for the password, so that once the expiration is near, they need to change their password and move to another one. Incident response policy, it outlines the procedure for responding to security incidents and breaches. It will help you to respond how actively you are going to deal with the breaches and incidents. Data encryption policy mandates encryption for sensitive data in transit and address. Next one is the network security policy, which defines the security configurations like the firewall rules and network segmentation. All these points are mentioned in it. and you are going to follow the network security policy, because this is really important for the network to be secured in your system if you want the overall organization to work fine. Bring your own device policy establishes guidelines for personal devices accessing the network. There are some limitations for all the persons who are going to basically bring their own devices to the organization. They are going to access the network. Definitely, they need to have the limited access to the network, so that if one device of any employee is infected by any kind of malware or attack, it needs to be addressed properly. Remote access policy specifies the requirements for remote access, including the VPN usage and authentication. Software development policy, it ensures secure coding practices and vulnerability management. Data backup and recovery policy defines the procedure for regular backup and disaster recovery. Security awareness policy promotes the employee education and awareness of security best practices. The next thing is the training. After the policies, you can give the training to your people so that you can avoid the um, possible attacks and reduce its effects. Security training educates users on best practices, phishing awareness, and incident response. If they have seen any kind of attack, how they need to respond to the system is included in the training, and it is a must have in the organization, because when you have the you simply give the trainings to the employees, they get to know about the things that they can do and what they need to avoid. The strengths include it reduces the human error, it increases the security awareness, and empowers the user to report suspicious activity. And the weaknesses include it requires regular updates to stay effective. It can be time consuming and may not be engaging for all the users. So every thing or procedure that we are going to have their own strengths and weaknesses. We can limitize their weaknesses by putting some extra efforts. Just like we are talking about, it may not be engaging for all the users. We can put on some extra efforts to make it engaging for all the people. So it depends upon the procedure that you are following, and definitely the strengths and weaknesses will be according to them. So just let me know if it is clear to you.
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Okay, so you don't have any question?
No, ma'am.
Answer to one of my question, please. In normal days, like just like we are talking about the VPN as it could be used for the security of the system, what would you suggest about like a VPN that could be used for the simply to access another IP or whatever we want to do so? Which is the best one to use nowadays according to the perfect standards?
The VPN or the VPS?
VPS.
VPS? Sorry, ma'am. I did not understand about the VPS here. Can you tell me what is it brief?
Okay, generally talking about, let's talk about the VPN.
Yeah, just in case if the VPN is required, it depends on what kind of the network setup or the remote sites are going to be connected. For example, if it is just one-to-one site, we can use a site-to-site VPN with a strong encryption and hashing and algorithms using the Diffie-Hellman groups for the reking of the protocols, sorry, the pre-shared keys between the two sites. But if it is like a multi-site setup, for example, there is an HQ with the remote sites, and the traffic must traverse through the HQ or the main site or main business site. Then we have multiple options as well, but one of the best one is a DM VPN. And if, for example, if there are like hundreds of sites and all of their the configuration of those sites is a complex task, that we can use the GRE. Sorry, there are like multiple types of VPNs based on the use case or the design.
Okay, for one to
So
one, simple, just one device, or if we are talking about the one to one communication or whatever the network is. So for that,
yes,
which one could be the like the suggested one from your side?
From one to one, if it is like device to device, I suggest for the site to site VPN. And if it is, for example, a user to a device, then it is like a SSL VPN or a remote access VPN. There are multiple softwares available around the globe from different vendors. And there are also like we can also create our own custom VPN, SSL based. And there is also web-based clients which only allows you to access to the one of the web page of the company with the only limited
Now we are going to analyze how to deploy security protection methods. And there are multiple ways that we can use to deploy our methods. The first one, it includes the remotely it includes the face-to-face, the patch management, and image deployment. So let's see them, how we can do so. Basically, remotely, it in remote deployment of security protection involves the installation and configuration security softwares or agents on devices or systems over a network connection. This method is useful for large distributed environments where they have a distributed system and they want to access the system remotely. So they can use the deployment of security protection methods, which involves the security configuration softwares on or agents on the devices that are basically connected with the network, and they can easily manage every device remotely. Devices with internet access and the reduced manual effort and travel time is needed. It is efficient, it is cost effective, and it gives us real time deployment. So we can manage everything properly with the help of our remote access to all the connected devices. The cons includes that it requires stable network connectivity. It requires potential for software conflicts or compatibility issues. May not work for devices with limited internet access. So all these things are basically the part of it. You need to stay informed about all these things because when you want to deal with the remote things, you need to understand that all the devices that are having limiting internet access will not be able to be managed with the system. So all the devices should have proper internet access. The compatibility should be equal and even in all the devices so that you can easily manage them. The next one is the face-to-face deployment. It involves the physically visiting each device or system to install and configure security softwares or agents. This method is useful for small localized environments and where you have limited number of devices and you are simply going to apply this method, it will be easily manageable. Devices without internet access, and it gives high touch personalized support so you can easily manage every aspect of it. It gives us some of the pros, which includes the personalized support, ensures the correct installation and configuration, it builds the trust with end users. And the cons includes the time consuming and labor intensive. It is labor intensive. It cost us the like you need to pay a lot of the cost to implement this system because you are going to do the deployment face to face. So all the logistical challenges needs to be done. All the components are going to be traveled from one place to another. So you need to manage everything properly, and you will have limited scalability. The next thing is the patch management. It involves the regularly updating software and applications with security patches to fix vulnerabilities. This method is useful for preventing exploitation of known vulnerabilities, complying with regulatory requirements, and reducing the attack surface. It basically helps you to add an extra layer of security to the software application, which will basically update the software and all the security patches to fix any other vulnerability that may have arrived. It can give you the proactive approach to security because you are going to add the patches, and once you add the patch, it add an extra layer of security. So it will give you the proactive approach to deal with all the consequences that may happen after any attack occurs. It reduces the risk of exploitation. It complies with the regulations. The cons include it requires constant monitoring and updating, potential for patch conflicts or compatibility issues, and it is resource intensive. So all these things are the cons of the patch management implementation. Whenever you are going to do so, you need to follow some of the rules, and you need to follow a proper procedure that will help you to deal with the all the present or upcoming vulnerabilities to your system. The next one is the image deployment. It involves creating a standardized, secure image of a device or system and deploying it to multiple devices. Like once you have created one, like a demo or an implementation plan for one device, you will simply copy it to all the other devices and use it for all of them, because um, it gives all the devices the same level of authentication and security. It will be suitable for large scale deployments. It will ensure consistency and standardization, because all the devices will have the same policies installed, so it will be consistent. It will reduce the manual effort, and its pros and cons includes the efficient, it is consistent security configuration, because you can do so by following the same measures for all the devices. It reduces the manual effort, because once you create an image, you can simply copy it to all the other devices. It requires a significant upfront effort to create image, because one thing is, you if you are going to create one first sample or image, you need to be hardly focusing on each and every aspect, because if there is an error or issue in one image, it will directly be transmitted to all the devices connected. So you need to be thinking really hard, so that you can avoid such kind of issues. Its potential for image drift or deviation. It has the limited flexibility for unique device configurations, because if all the devices are at the same pace of configuration, then you can use them easily. In conclusion, each method has its strengths and weaknesses, and the best approach will depend on the specific environment, scale, and requirement. It depends upon your needs, it depends upon your choice. Which one you think is suitable for you, you can use them. A combination of methods may be necessary for comprehensive security protections, where the large organizations are working with lots of applications and lots of endpoint devices with variant compatibilities. Then definitely you need to think of a method that will be a combination of multiple, so that you can add extra security protection into your system. So this is all for today's lecture. If you have any question, you can ask me.
No, ma'am, thanks. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, then I will see you in the next class. Till then, take care of yourself.